And welcome to Stephen University. This week we are in the same room again for the second time, and we are discussing Nightmare Hospital. And Chris apparently has been replaced with a Chris soundboard this week, that if I poke it, it makes weird noises.
Where we're in the same room, I just make a lot more ooh.
I'm just poking him now to see, because I can actually physically poke him.
This is going to be really difficult for me, though, because I can't look at the internet to theorise when we're in the same room. I'm joking.
Yeah, because I'd catch you out.
Apparently there's been a lot of, where we are now, recording-wise, there's now apparently a lot of, Chris is cheating. I'm not cheating, I promise.
The funny thing is, most people are saying it in jest, but there's one or two people that I'm thinking, you think Chris is cheating. Yeah. I know you're not, because I know... Because everything you've theorised has been based on a thing. You've been able to say the thing that led to your theory.
Yeah.
I think if you were just out of nowhere going, oh, and there's a fusion, and there'd been no evidence of that whatsoever, and you weren't looking into any...
If I'm like, Garnet's a fusion before I've discovered what fusion is, I'm probably cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you've always based it in... Because the one that really caught people out recently was they listened to the episode where you theorised that one of the gems would only have one eye, but that theory is based on the fact Garnet has three. You've not pulled that out of your backside.
No, and wasn't another one the fact that I described one of them as cold, but that wasn't. I didn't mean cold as in ruby. I meant as in blue and cold and can cause cold.
Sapphire.
Sorry. Well, exactly. I don't know. That's my point.
You meant cold like the personality.
I meant cold like personality cold. Yeah.
Because you said it's cold and sweet.
Yeah,
and really, I suppose it'd be cold and agitated.
Yeah, which is the alternative name for this podcast at one point. But
you were called to the show. I was agitated at you for it.
Yeah,
that was our working title. No, it wasn't. We never had one. We didn't have one for like 10 episodes. Do you remember that part, Chris?
Yeah. That was amazing. And you could tell listeners were like, "When are they gonna fucking name it?"
It's the problem with recording ahead. Yeah.
I find that, and I'm sorry if it has caused problems at any point. I think the other thing with that is we record so far ahead that we can't ever acknowledge things. Like, it would be good. Like, thank you to anyone that has sponsored our Patreon page. But
we'll do a Patreon shout out.
Yeah, but it's coming like 2 months after they sponsored the Patreon page.
What we'll do is we'll just choose random people on the Patreon page to give a shout out to every now and then.
Yeah.
Just as a little thank you. We can't do it with everyone. Not that we're inundated with people giving us money, but there's a handful.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to give
we're very grateful. Thank you to anyone that's donated.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really happy about the whole thing, Chris.
Should I do the episode?
Yeah,
do you want to give someone a shout out quickly?
No, we'll do it at the end. That's fine.
So Nightmare Hospital features Connie and Stephen. They are returning with Lion to Connie's house. If they'd have thought about Lion, that would have solved the whole dilemma of how to get her home the other week.
Yes, it would.
So they return. Stephen gives her Rose's sword. Connie's mum finds the sword. Connie's mum takes the sword to the hospital. They decide to follow her to the hospital. And in the middle of trying to get it back, they encounter Connie's mum's nightmarish hospital patients, which are actually the gem shard monsters. So Connie's tries to explain to her mum that she needs the sword and she can fight them. The mum is disbelieving to a point of irritation. Like, that goes on a bit, and that's good. That should go on a bit. But I'm saying you really are sat there going, man, Connie's mum's annoying. Like, you feel that. That's not a complaint. Eventually, Connie gives in, takes the sword. Her and Stephen are like, let's do this. And then they do some kick-ass fighting. Well, Connie does some kick-ass fighting. Stephen does the best he can with a shield, which is fine. It was good.
Doesn't he like skid onto the floor and then hold the shield up so she can jump, like put a foot on it and do a big leap?
Yeah,
they
work
turns
together.
Into a flip.
That's
what I love most about it, is how much like a team they work.
But the visual you remember, I think, is Connie slicing through him with the sword. So then
especially the flip in the air, for sure. And then the cool landing and everything. She does the superhero landing, very cool.
And so then the mum just sort of changes her mind. Mum's happy with him then. No, she doesn't. That's
to be fair. Yeah, it is a little, because I think she's witnessed that Connie's capable.
Yeah.
And it's basically opened her mind completely, hasn't it?
I think what it would have been cool, and then the episode ends. I think what it would have been cool to explore is, like, I've always got the impression, because they don't live in the same town, that Connie's parents aren't as familiar with what the gems mean and what being a gem is. So I think a little bit more maybe she was like, oh, gem shards. Like, maybe have that moment where she realises, but that takes time and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you make a joke of it. They're like, okay, we'll tell you the whole story, and then it's like a day in the hospital, and they're like,
yeah.
Or you see them like walking, and you like cut to her different questions. So she's like, so this creature is just under the sea, and like it's getting, more and more, worse and worse. But
yeah,
I thought it was a very good episode. I enjoyed it. I thought it was humorous. I didn't expect to see the shard creatures back so quickly.
Yes, pretty cool.
I hope they do something with that, though. I hope they keep coming back and become a bit of an issue, and that there's a question of how the fuck they get out and like get there. And
I've just realised that we've got an extra layer of me having to think about avoiding spoilers now that I didn't realise, because you were looking at me as you said that, and I nodded like, yeah, I would hope that too. But I've just realised you might have taken my nod.
Yeah, you got to be very...
You might have taken that as a, yes, they definitely do something and come back to that, which I'm not saying either way. I'm agreeing with you. In the context of this episode, you'd think, oh, God, I hope that follows through. But to be fair, I think that is a thought born of Fringe Observers. Because constantly the question we're asking ourselves on Fringe Observers is, will this be one of those plots they have continually dropped? Whereas so far, Steven Universe hasn't dropped anything.
No, I don't. I don't doubt we'll see the shards again, but I would rather see them pop up frequently in 10 episodes than appear throughout 10 episodes than suddenly appear in the finale. Now, do you see what I mean?
Gotcha.
If they set up this idea that potentially some of them have escaped into mainland society,
you want to see
then I want to see them in mainland society pop up more.
Okay, yeah.
Because I can't remember the conclusion of what happened. Did they destroy the ones they discovered?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And then they seal them back inside whatever they were found in. And that's when they saw Peridot running away. For us it's been a little while since we saw that one.
Yeah. Yeah, about a week.
More than.
I can't remember when that one came within the bomb.
It was a while ago for us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ugh, my brain. So there's a lot.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree with everything I think said. I think it's a really good episode. I think this show is always one of its biggest strengths is always the way it characterizes the kids versus the adults, and some of the issues that they bring up are the sort of things that I think it's remarkable when a kids show can think like a kid, because that controlling parent thing is a really common issue, I think, for a lot of kids. Parents who are so protective that they're basically stopping them from living and enjoying their lives. And while this is an extreme version of that, because in reality, no parent would ever be okay with their kid running around fighting monsters with a sword. They just wouldn't. That's just not acceptable. But it's sort of a weird sort of cartoon metaphor for when parents are overprotective and won't let their kids, go to the park ever or whatever, because there's a boogans around every corner or whatever. And I think the for the writers to have hit on that story point here really shows that they are quite in tune with the younger part of their audience, because that isn't something I've thought about since I was a child, that overprotective parent problem. And I think it's really interesting that as adult writers, they've come up with this plot and they've done a really good job characterizing it. And I think they've made both points quite clear, even if it is an extreme version of it.
I think if my parents had just let me, then I'd be a sword fighter.
Yeah,
no doubt,
mate. You are the clumsiest human being I've ever met. If
I would chop my own hand off. Hand I was sword fighting with.
You'd be the guy after the fight in Holy Grail.
Yeah.
You'd be just a torso and a head.
Yeah.
God, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah. I'm clumsy.
That would be you. Yeah, you are very clumsy.
I think it was nice not to, especially when we've had quite 3 main gem heavy episodes. Not 3. 5 episodes fairly gem heavy.
Yes.
I think it's cool that we only it's much harder to try and compress. We had a late night and we got up early, and I realised that as bad as it sounds over the phone, it's even worse when Dan can just see my face contort
as he tries to hide the yawn.
Try and hide it.
Badly.
Dan sips on a milkshake. He didn't get me one. That's fine. No problem.
I got you croissants.
I like
orange
it, but
juice.
I like the milkshakes. And
I know.
Ignored. That doesn't sound great, does it? Our breakfast. Milkshake and
we got croissant and orange juice, which is a perfectly normal breakfast. And I happened to grab myself a milk.
It's not a Wednesday morning breakfast, is it? It's a special breakfast. So it's together breakfast, because we're together.
Oh, we should have made together breakfast.
Boom.
Next time you come, I'm going to get pancakes and popcorn and strawberries and cream, and we're going to do a together breakfast.
We're going to just roll around in it all. Yeah,
you're going to walk in, there's going to be a normal together breakfast like on the show, and I'm just going to be sat behind it, partially naked, with cream, like whipped cream covering all my bits.
Nice. Luckily that wouldn't use up too much of the whipped cream, I imagine. There'd still be some left for the pancakes. There's an image.
Mate, if you don't think I'm sorting out the pancakes with whipped cream first, you're a lunatic. I know how to make a fucking together breakfast. Don't question my methods, Chris.
After 5 episodes, centering heavily on the 3 gems, I thought it was nice to take a break, get some Connie. Love Connie; she's one of my favourite characters, and just see some time away from the 3 of them, and just Stephen and Connie are on an adventure. I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, and I think that it's always nice to get an episode that functions on a standalone perspective, but also does hint or does at least acknowledge the mythology still out there. Because even though the gem shard creatures aren't the focus of the episode, they are but a sort of catalyst for the drama, which is obviously the Connie relationship with her mother. The fact that they've chosen to make the Buggins, I keep using the word Buggins. I like the word Buggins, turns out.
I don't think I've ever heard that word until this moment.
Right. I use it. You mean also including when I used it a few minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say this moment. No, wait. I already said it, but you're not listening to me, Chris. I think that it could have been any monster to be the catalyst of that. So it was smart of them.
Well, it's smart to use a monster that you don't need to explain to the audience, or justify to the audience, or introduce the audience to. If they're smart, these gem shard creatures could become the putties in Power Rangers. They could just become the monster. I know, man. The monsters that just pop up that they have to fight.
Yeah, but what I do like about though is that because they've already sort of semi-explained that the monsters they were fighting in sort of season 1 before we were doing these horrific gem shard creatures, which are just sort of these mindless sorts of putty things. But they were fighting monsters every other week, and they were all different and redesigned, and they were all very specific. And they described those as corrupted gems left over from the war. So they already sort of have that established.
They do,
because any monster could have been in there, and it would have been one of those corrupted gems. Just like they fought like the big centipede, or that big giant ice thing. They fought. They fought hundreds of random and completely different monsters well before they introduced the idea of these corrupt gem shards, where it's just like body parts all used to. They're a corrupt gem shard fusion experiment.
They wouldn't have fit so nicely into the hospital storyline though, and whether they've had a car crash or all of that kind of.
Yeah, because it's all body parts and limbs and stuff. Yeah, you're right. But them showing up at her work wouldn't have been too outside of the realms of possibility if something else had just shown up, and it hadn't been previously set up. Although it is much cleverer to do it that way.
There was a nice Halloween special feel to it, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah, even
monsters and they even did the creepy voice at one point.
Yeah, it aired in September, so a little bit off. But it would, it would have made a hell of a lot better of a fucking Halloween episode than fucking Ronaldo episode where they're in the scary house. Remember that one? Where he nearly murders Lars. And no one casually turns to murder. I think someone put a really great comment in one of in the video for that, where they said I hope at some point we deal with this, like you see him at therapy, like Ronaldo at therapy, just like I nearly killed a man. Because
that's the problem. Ronaldo doesn't care.
Is that maybe that is the issue? Maybe that is the issue. So a few little continuity things. Somebody's going to tell me this is arguably a spoiler, but I don't think this is a spoiler because it's referenced directly in this episode. She's now revealed to her parents that the glasses are pointless, which is a big step.
Why would that be a spoiler?
No, because she no longer wears the glasses going forward now.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Again in the show because there's no need to.
Yeah,
her eyesight is fixed.
Cool.
So Connie is.
I like that moment.
Sans glasses.
It felt like a nice payoff. That whole speech was lovely.
Yep.
Revealing that was done really well. Like I say, just felt like some good payoff.
Yeah. I thought I'd have something else to add to that, but I legitimately didn't.
You looked as if you'd had something.
No, I thought I did, but then when I actually processed the thought was the exact thing you just said, and I don't think this podcast.
You could have gone with "I agree."
Yeah. Could have done. But it's one of those things where, like, you said exactly what I would have said, and I just went to say that and was like, no, that's true. And then I was lost in the wind, Chris.
And luckily, this minute is
it's been so much
way
better.
more concise.
Yeah, way more concise than me explaining my thought process. I don't know if this is true. This is what someone's written on the wiki page. Dr. Maheshwaran seems to have a grasp of and a basic understanding of gem biology, stating that's why the patients didn't have a pulse.
Yeah, they did some weird. Was that just to add to the spookiness of the episode, or do those characters come back, or because they were a bit in the shadows and a bit mysterious and all that stuff?
What the gem shard?
The doctors.
Oh, I think that's just because I just think everything was in the shadows. Okay. This episode, for those who don't remember, is shot like a horror movie. They go in. There's a great line. I wish I'd written it down when they first get in, and they're like trying to. She's like, "Oh yeah, we just need to get to this ward. It's through there." And Steven's like, "What? Through the scary place?"
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's really very funny and well done. Obviously, the cluster gems have the strongest reaction to the presence of Steven in the room, so they potentially can sense other gems. That's what someone notes. Cool. Because I think
that's a nice idea.
Well, yeah, because they're obviously dormant for hours and hours. Because Dr. Maheshwaran comes home, and then he's called back to the hospital. Presumably, in that time, they were just sat there dormant, and it's only really when Steven shows up that they get that active and that violent, which is interesting. In the episode, Steven reveals he's never been to a hospital before. Whether this is due to a hinted at regenerating factor or the gems simply taking care of his medical needs is not really.
I would suspect it's more. He's got a certain amount of strength and durability because of him being a gem.
But he's got healing power, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe he's been internally healing himself because spit comes from inside you, Chris, and his spit's healing.
Yeah. Well, I wondered if that's where they were going at first. If they were car crash victims, if Steven was going to heal them.
Yeah, that's a nice idea actually. Then again. Yeah, we have seen him heal humans because we've seen him heal Connie. Because otherwise, we've only mostly seen him use it to heal gems.
Yeah,
like Lapis's gem on the back.
And gem stuff. And,
yeah. Interesting. Let me see if there's any other bits of continuity. The whole Connie thing, by the way, the whole glasses thing is supposed to be like a hint at superheroes with a secret identity.
Nice.
Yeah, glasses on, glasses off.
Do they ever explore how far he can go with that? Like spit saving, yeah. I'm just now that I can see you in person, I'm just going to chuck out some questions.
Oh, you're mean.
Assess your face.
Oh, that's
like
mean.
The healing, like whether he can heal people that have died or something like
that. They certainly explore the powers further than what we've seen.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a really interesting question because I think that you'd imagine the creators would want to give it some sort of limit because of course you can't have a character that can just bring people back to the dead as you just suggested or cure huge things because then there's no stakes. A character gets stabbed, you're like, well, Steven will just come lick him. Wow. No, I've just got really bad images of him running through a funeral home, just like lick, everyone's just getting back up. No, it's they do explore it, but I think you'd be remiss to think you could ever rely on it.
Yeah, okay.
And because they've already weirdly given it a bizarre limitation of it does depend on his mental state. Because it's in the past
because he couldn't do it.
When his dad gave him some doubts, he couldn't do it. And I think that's really interesting. So yeah, I think it's an astute question because obviously it again demonstrates your keen eye for it now because the show has proven to you that it's willing to go to interesting places and nothing is there by accident and everything is deliberate and everything feels like it's going to a certain place. And as a result of that, every little thing that comes up now, you're going, oh, I wonder if that's going somewhere. I wonder if that's going where. And that's the right way to be thinking about this show, because very few stones get unturned, at least where we're up to. And by we, I mean the collective Steven Universe
very
community.
few stones are left unturned.
What did I say?
Very few stones get unturned.
Yeah, sorry, I left unturned.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. So yeah.
Dan and Chris discuss metaphors.
Dan phrases shit wrong and Chris corrects him.
Is that a metaphor?
I don't know.
That's a catchphrase, isn't it?
No, it's not a cat. No, it's a...
It's a saying.
Yeah, it's a saying.
It's a catchphrase.
No,
that would be...
No, a catchphrase is when someone has like a thing they specifically say, like wubba dubba lubba dub dub.
No. I'm giving catchphrase the definition that would be used in the TV show catchphrase.
The TV catchphrase has always been horribly misnamed for that very reason.
That always bugged you, has it?
Yeah. For those who don't, I guess this isn't probably a thing, but
I think there's a US version.
There might be. It probably has a different name. There's a show in the UK called Catchphrase where it's got like popular sayings, and they sort of like what they do is they put an image up that represents like recurring phrases.
But the image is slowly revealed, bit by bit.
So they answer questions and they get to reveal bits of the image, and the first person to guess what the catchphrase is. And by that I mean the saying. So it's things like, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, or like the happy as Larry, which is a weird British one that I hate.
But because who's Larry?
Apparently some sort of cartoon sheep.
What?
I think I read somewhere that he was a cartoon sheep from a comic strip in a newspaper in the 1800s or something, and he was pretty happy. I'm going to double check that now, because I feel like now I've said it out loud on a podcast, I'm going to get proven wrong very quickly.
If you knew that Bob, 52 in Newport, said the apple doesn't always fall far from the tree all the time, then surely it's a catchphrase, because it's Bob's.
Yeah. If you said it all, yes and no.
I think it's wrong of you to doubt their research on catchphrase. I reckon they went out and found
Fred from Duckenfield.
What's your catchphrase?
Yeah,
and that's why one week it was bazinga.
Because to me, a catchphrase is like it's like a bazinga, or a don't have a cow man, or a or a wubba lubba dub dub. I'm Tiny Rick. I'm Pickle Rick.
What other trivia you got?
It's references to Rick and Morty.
No, I know that, but
no, I think that's everything. I think that's the lot. I think that's your lot, Chris.
No, fair enough. You got anything else to say?
I got nothing for you. No, I like I do like the horror film aesthetic. I think
it's very good.
It's good, but it does one thing I will say is that for a show for children, I think maybe not making them scared of hospitals is probably a good idea.
That's fair.
If I was a parent, I'd be mildly annoyed at them turning the hospital into, because it's great TV. Because hospitals are creepy as fuck, especially at night. I get that. I'm on board. And as a horror fan, again, completely on board. But if I was a parent, I'd be like, please don't make my kids scared of the hospital. Like, my kid's already terrified. And you need medical procedures. Don't scare them. But that's just me playing devil's advocate, because I don't think that really bothered me that much. That's just like me sort of potentially asserting what a parent might say. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, actually, one other thing. There is one other thing. Found something. So, this episode reveals that it's been almost a year since An Indirect Kiss.
Oh, I thought that, yeah.
Now, coincidentally, when this aired, it had been almost a year since that episode had aired.
Oh,
that had aired in September 18th, 2014, and Nightmare Hospital had aired September the 10th, 2015. So it was just a few days, about a week off being a year. So that would mean potentially the show is taking place in real time, but I think that's disproven if you follow the seasons.
Yeah.
Someone actually, I wish I could name check them right now, but I don't have it in front of me. Someone on our YouTube channel gave us a really good breakdown of all the evidence for when the seasons shift to show how much time passes between each episode. It's really fascinating. If people want to look that up, I guess that's on the episode 40. Oh, I wish I had this in front of me. This is what happens, Chris. We have conversations, it leads to me remembering something, and I don't have it in front of me to do it. In the meantime, while I'm looking it up, because I will predict, we have got a shout-out of the week then.
Shout-out of the week.
Shout-out of the week is our Patreon, Andrew Stalker.
Andrew Stalker.
Who has...
My favourite stalker.
who has, I'm sure he's never heard that joke before ever in his
Andrew.
life.
Don't take away your pledge.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised after that. That's terrible, Chris. It's a terrible joke.
Yeah.
It's not even a good enough joke to warrant... potentially, doing a joke everyone has done before. Do you know what I mean? If it's a really good joke, you can be like, who cares who got there first? It's a great joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't great. Anyway,
No, but I'm not surprised to see Stalker there. He's always there, isn't he?
He's making more jokes about the other meaning of the word stalker if you're listening at home.
But Stalker might not be his real surname. It might just be his Patreon name.
Also on YouTube under that name, so I don't know.
Well,
we
thank
get comments.
you.
We get comments from Andrew all the time.
And in that case, I'm so sorry if it felt like I was. It was. I'm sorry, Andrew. My surname has the word ham in. Knock yourself out.
Free reign to make fun
Send us all the ham jokes you want, mate.
Okay, for a second I thought you were going to say send us all the ham you want. I was like, Chris, don't solicit ham. They're already giving us money.
There's a company that sends you bacon like every
I'm
2
aware.
weeks
I've
if
seen.
you want.
Yeah. It looks great. A bacon box.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Yeah, and cheese.
They're doing everything in a box
posting.
now. They're doing everything in a box now. It's kind of upsetting because I get my shaving in a box, get my razors in a box.
How did you get them before?
Oh,
you get them posted.
Yeah, like in one of those little boxes they send. You know that you get a box of cheese a month or a box of bacon a month. Because they're really good blades. I'm not going to name the company because they sponsor a lot of podcasts, so I don't want anyone to think I'm shilling for them. But they're razor blade company. They you get a subscription. It's like £14 for a box of like 8, and they're amazing. And they last. I find they last longer than my existing ones. So like, I'll get 2 or 3 shaves out of a standard one. I'll get like 4, maybe 5 out of one of these before I feel like I should get rid of it.
Fair enough.
It's good. Anyway, I get that.
Andrew Stalker.
Sorry, Andrew.
How are you shaving?
Well, how are you shaving, Andrew Stalker?
Indeed, you have a beard? Are you
using a subscription box? Are you using one of those electric things that people use these days because it's quicker and more convenient? That'd be understandable. Wet shaves are a bit of a fucking nightmare. Tell us in the comments. No, but to be fair, Andrew's been with us since really early on in the comments. So,
thank you very much.
And really tragically, and I felt bad about this at the time, when we did the question and answer one, we read out everyone's names for all the questions except Andrew's.
Oh, Andrew.
And I felt...
Did he comment?
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew, I'm sorry for that.
So we're sorry about that. But yeah, you go through coincidence.
But you're the first patron shout out.
And you know what's interesting is that is not by design because of the fact we missed the name. I literally loaded up the Patreon page, closed my eyes, clicked on a random name from around, and it was Andrew's. So that's handy. So excellent. So yeah, but thank you so much for supporting us. We appreciate that. Anyone else who wants to do the same, of course, can get us on Patreon. And it is patreon.com/nothingbutstatic. You can get us there and throw some money at us.
If you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, Andrew joined Patreon just to do that as well. I've just looked.
Oh.
Hero. Absolute legend.
He's a legend.
I know. Awesome.
Thank you so much. Man.
So yeah, that's everything for this week. I suppose we'll see you guys next week, or no, later this week, or earlier this week. Fuck knows.
You know what I love? I went, there's ham in my name, almost being a bit cagey. Like, oh, should I give away my surname? And I've just realised that at the end of every podcast, I'll give my surname.
Yeah,
and have done
and on Twitter.
Over 200 episodes of podcasts. So
that's amazing. Okay, so we'll speak to you guys when Chris... Okay, I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billing Bacon.
It's a pseudonym. It's a pseudonym. And we'll speak to you next week or whenever when we speak about Sadie's song.
We'll speak to you Thursday.
Is this definitely a...
Yeah, because it's the first one after the bomb, so it'll be a Tuesday.
You said Thursday.
Yeah. I said we'll see you Thursday.
Friday will be the next episode, Chris.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, we put these things up on a Friday, don't we? We'll see you Friday.
Friday for Sadie's song.